Senator Perry, Representative Watson, members of the Joint Standing Committee on Taxation. My name is Tarren Bragdon. I serve as the Chief Executive Officer of the Maine Heritage Policy Center. We drafted the model legislation that is before you today. For those of you who aren't aware, the Maine Heritage Policy Center is a not-for-profit, nonpartisan research and educational organization. We're located in Portland, Maine. We survive solely off private donations. We receive no money from the government. I want to just talk to you about why we wrote this model legislation and, more importantly, what it will do for Maine families. Maine people deserve real tax relief. And frankly, they've been promised that tax relief for many, many years. You in the legislature made very significant move to provide them with real property tax relief by sending hundreds of millions of dollars more to local governments. However, none of that additional money has trickled down to the property taxpayer, primarily due to continued irresponsible spending increases at the local level. You're hearing a lot, I'm sure, in the coming hours about government. Well, I want to talk to you about families, about taxpayers. LD 974, an act to decrease the auto excise tax and promote energy efficiency, would keep the promise of real tax relief for Maine families, and it would make Maine the most affordable state to buy a hybrid or energy efficient car. It would provide at least $80 million, I see your fiscal notes, $85 million in real tax relief. I want to direct your attention in the little packet, there's a slideshow, just a couple different slides. I want to just bring to your attention the good work of this legislature in sending hundreds of millions of dollars back to Maine towns. Back in 2004, Maine Municipal Association had their own citizens initiative that said if the legislature simply sent communities millions of dollars more and funded 55% of local education, then property taxpayers would see a 15% property tax cut. Well, using figures from your own fiscal office, from state planning office, and Maine Municipal Association, you can see on slide 2 that from 2004 to 2008, there was a dramatic increase in state aid, $278 million in additional state aid sent to local communities. This was far and above inflation over that same time period, with modest population growth of about 16%. However, local spending continued to increase, even much more dramatically than in the 4 years previous, climbing 22%, so that property taxes still increased faster than people's income, faster than people's ability to pay. Those hundreds of millions of dollars from Augusta, with the guarantee of property tax relief, simply subsidized increased and irresponsible spending increases at the local level. And Maine people realized the empty promise of no tax relief. In fact, their property tax burden was worse after 4 years because property taxes increased faster than their paychecks. If you just look on the next slide, you will see that if Maine local governments, schools, and municipalities simply had increased spending at the rate of inflation, that property taxes last year in 2008 would have been $188 million less than they were. That's just if they had responsible spending in that 4-year period that you sent hundreds of millions of dollars more to local government. $188 million. That would have funded an 89% cut in the auto excise tax. We're just looking for 40. $80 million. And I think this committee is quite well aware of the impact of about $80 million in tax relief from some of your other bills that you're focusing on next week. Just want to give you some real examples. The next couple slides. The most popular car purchased last year in Maine was the Ford Focus for Maine individuals. Auto excise taxes for the first 5 years for a Maine family buying a Ford Focus are $1,100. With this bill, they'll drop to less than $500, saving a Maine family more than $600 a year. For a Prius, one of the things we've been focused on is not only how do we make our environment cleaner by reducing emissions, but also how do we make it more affordable for Maine families to drive living in one of the most rural states in the country. A 2008 Toyota Prius, 600 people bought them last year. Right now, in sales and excise taxes, over 5 years, they're paying $2,600 in taxes. Under this bill, that drops to $172. reducing the cost of buying a fuel-efficient car or a hybrid by $2,440 over 5 years. That's real relief, and again, means that Maine families will have access to the most affordable hybrids and fuel-efficient cars in the country. We think that that's a good thing, and frankly, it's one of the best ways to improve our environment. Not only does LD 974 save money for Maine families, but, and this is why we wrote it in this particular way, it focuses those tax savings on what many of you already articulated as the worst tax. The automobile excise tax is the only tax that is solely paid by Maine residents and Maine businesses. The only tax. None of it is exported. It is one of the most regressive tax, both from figures from the Maine Center for Economic Policy and also from Maine Revenue Services, hurting poor families and those with fixed incomes the most. It's the only property tax paid by all people, renters, homeowners, and businesses located right here in Maine. For us, LD 974 provides you, the legislature, with an opportunity to keep that promise that you made of providing real property tax relief to Maine families. The auto excise tax is a property tax. It's calculated that way. This is a way for you to keep that promise of real property tax relief. You sent hundreds of millions of dollars more to local governments. None of that trickled down to the property taxpayer. That's wrong. We can change it, and this is the best way to change it. And I've got to say that the citizen excitement over this particular initiative is very, very strong. This is a very visible tax, and it's a very unfair tax.